Good evening, classmates. Here we are for our week 3 discussion. So my takeaway from all of the videos that we watched was that with formative assessments, that really helps us to monitor our students' learning and to get feedback on ways to improve learning for them. That allows us to really hone in on individual students and see who is able to comprehend what either before we start a lesson or during a lesson or even after a lesson. A lot of assessments can be done at the beginning of the school year to really create groups of long-term ability groups and see which students are performing at which levels. But yeah, I think the biggest thing with formative assessments is it's tools that really are helping teachers to know how to modify their lessons and instruction for the benefit of every student. Whereas summative learning really is evaluating students' learning at the end of a longer period of time. So let's see here. 2 unique assessment or formative assessments that I would use. I really like, well, there's 3 that I really like. Math exit tickets, whiteboards, and then Kahoot or like the Socrative quizzes. Exit tickets, I think, are just a really great tool to have because they're used daily. So after the end of every math lesson, you give your students a chance to do an exit ticket. Typically, it's like a 15 to 20 minute time chunk. Most kiddos don't need that much. But it's like 2 problems that really just, grasp the concepts of that lesson. I grade them on a 1, 2, 3, 4 scales, and then you can really see who is totally understanding, who has most comprehension, and then any students who just really missed the mark on it. So I think that those are a great tool, not only for teachers to be able to see what might need to be done for the following day, because it typically, especially in math, it's such a building block subject matter that you need to be able to maybe like work with those students who received ones and have like a mini lesson with them before starting the next lesson. Whiteboards I really like for math as well because you're able to have that engagement with your students where you are able to ask them a question or solve a problem and they can just hold up their whiteboards and you can see who has correct or incorrect answers and go from there. And then the Socrative quiz or Kahoots, I think those are just really fun for kids. So they're super engaged. They feel like they're playing a game, but at the same time, you're also able to collect data and really like change the course or the path to see which students are understanding material versus kids who are not. Some summative practices that I think are interesting, or not interesting, but are important. Presentations and then exams. In 3rd grade, we do a project called Wax Museum, and the kids have about 2 weeks to really, or not 2 weeks, 2 months to really learn everything, well, close to everything, about a historical figure. And what they do is they have a bunch of assignments throughout those 2 months, and then they end it with a trifold board that has written information and pictures and things that pertain to their influential person. But then they also dress up as that person and they give speeches from the perspective of that individual. So I think that presentation really allows for students to display the knowledge that they have learned from all of their research that they've done. So, that can be utilized obviously beyond just a wax museum, but that's one of the examples that I've had firsthand. And I know it's a great tool to be able to measure that knowledge. And then end of module math exams, these are always done with over a large chunk of time. So kids are able to display knowledge of individual lessons that they've learned, but then they put them all together and show how the different lessons are like building blocks on one another. They always have reviews that they're able to use on these lessons or on these tests. So even though they're encompassed with bigger chunks of material, they also have ample time and ample resources to do their best on those exams. Some barriers that I could see for those formative assessments would be lack of participation or especially with whiteboards, either kids not holding them up or just like glancing at their neighbor and writing down what their neighbor wrote. And then for summative would be a lack of student preparation. So, if a kiddo decided that even though we did the review as a class and then they didn't bring the review back the next day. You know, there's only so much that you as a teacher can do, but that would be a hindrance on what they were able to display that they, you know, have retained in that subject matter. And then how would I go about overcoming those concerns? I think just like with most anything in a classroom, you know, you're going to speak to the student themselves and then also pass feedback along to parents and just let them know the ways that you are there to support their student and, you know, talk about the different methods that are being employed into the class and, you know, talk about participation, talk about preparation. So, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, you know, we can only do so much, but I think that about sums it up. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.